Hello again, YouTubers. Welcome back to the Other Stuff channel. Today we have another Pokemon Guidebook review video. So we've done quite a few of these on the channel before, but so far I haven't actually reviewed a Pokemon DS game guidebook. So today we have this, the official Pokemon Unova Strategy Guide Volume 1 for Pokemon Black 2 and White 2, of course. Includes a poster map, and you can see here Kyurem Black and White, as well as Rosa and Nate, and the Unova starters. So first off, I want to say this copy is not in great condition, and well, it will serve the purpose of me doing this video here. You can see originally was $19.99. I want to quickly show you guys the back poster first, because that's easy to get out of the way. It's really nice. Honestly, I don't really like the art style of the map though, but as compared to Kalos, but you know, it's still great that there is this. And also in the front, we have this little pull-out for the Pokedex. Right, so it says available November 2012. Sorry, that's upside down, but yeah, basically there's the second volume, which is the Pokedex. So now what I'm going to do, since this book is actually fairly big, I'm going to lay it on the table, and then we're going to go through the page by page as we always do. So if you haven't seen our previous guidebook videos on the channel, I will leave a link to it in the description box. Yeah, so if you intend to face the champion of Unova region, prepare yourself. Okay. So if you want to see anything in specific, well, specifically, you can pause, and hopefully the video quality is good enough. Now, the good thing about these larger size guides, when they are, like, you know, used, is I don't really care too much about bending it, because they're already so heavily used. So this is really interesting. 2 years ago, then we have all the characters. All right, we've got Team Plasma, we've got the gym leaders, the Elite Four, more Team Plasma, of course, Iris, and then we come to, ooh, did I miss a page there? Nope. All right, so Pokemon Trainer Handbook. So basically these pages here are focused on Pokemon basics. So if you're new to the game, of course, this would be pretty helpful. And master winning battle strategies. Whoa, okay. So I really enjoy doing these and letting you guys actually take a look at what's inside these books, because unfortunately Prima Guides has stopped publishing these. You might have seen, if you've watched videos on this channel before, me doing reviews of the Japanese guidebooks for Legends Arceus and Pokemon Scarlet Violet. Unfortunately, Prima Guides no longer publishes English guides, and that means there's no English guides for Pokemon. So for those of you who are, you know, still holding out hope for an English guide, nope, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen, unfortunately. All right, so if you want a guide, you have to get the Japanese ones, and that's basically your only option. We have the communications area. I really like the whole communications thing in Unova. Time and Seasons is one really cool feature, as well as the Unova link, although it's kind of weird because, like, especially for the difficulty feature, one had like easy and one had hard, and then you probably had to combine them both to unlock both of them. We also have some info of the Dream Radar, which unfortunately is no longer available if you haven't bought it already before the Nintendo eShop closed down. Alright, so we're now here in the walkthrough segment of the book, and I think we're making good time. So we're here at Spurcia City Gym Battle. Now, Unova has a really like nostalgic feel for me, not as much as Kalos, because I really started getting into Pokemon video games starting in X and Black 2 and White 2, but really in full force from X and Y onwards. In terms of video games, Black and White 2 were my very first Pokemon games that I actually played. Now, I have to admit, I was emulating it, and the reason being was I was not allowed to have a Nintendo DS back then. So I played through the game. It was really fun, and then it kind of died off for me until, of course, the hype season for X and Y started. And from, you know, back then, there was no such thing as a Nintendo 3DS emulator, so all I could do was just watch people play it. And I only started getting my own 3DS, or actually Nintendo 2DS XL, in 2017, so kind of late to actually get into like real, you know, playing the games on a real console. But since then, I've only been playing on that console. I played every single Pokemon game, of course, on the 3DS, except for Pokemon Art Academy. Now, that game is actually the only game on the 3DS that was released with a physical version that I have not had the opportunity to collect in my collection, except for the Japanese edition. So I do have the Japanese copy, but I don't really count that because, 3DS games are region locked, so I do need a US or North America version. And the prices right now are sky high, but I think I'm gonna just, spend it right now, just get a sealed copy, not to play it, just to have it for the collection so that I can just admire it and admire my sealed collection. Pokemon World Tournament, this is a really cool feature. Unfortunately, I'm not sure what is supposed to happen if you lose against Colress. So in one of my save files for White 2, I actually lost and I just got stuck. So I'm not sure if that's supposed to happen or you're supposed to be able to move on. Yeah, let me know. It's very strange. I couldn't find anything on the internet saying like what you should do, but yeah, I saved the save file, so I'm kind of stuck on that one. Probably gonna have to reset it, but I'm not too enthusiastic about going back to the DS era because I just feel like the 3D era, in my opinion, was really much better. But of course, I think a lot of people who started out in earlier generations have the opposite view, which is that Pokemon was best when it was in a 2D sprite form. So yeah, definitely some pros and cons, but in terms of Unova, I really like the region, like the plot, and Village Bridge, epic music there. So yeah, in terms of generations, Gen 6 is my favorite, followed by Gen 5. The anime for Gen 5 wasn't that amazing, but if you actually listen to the Japanese opening themes, I believe Best Wishes and Be an Arrow, whoa, those songs are epic, like really epic. Marine Tube is a really cool one as well. I think it was new for Black and White 2, that brought you to Humalal City, which was also new, of course. And the cool thing about Black and White 2, you got to go to these new areas, which is really nice. Nowadays we have DLC. Back then we just had a sequel for the first time and all these new areas. Now it'd be really cool to see Unova in the same way they did Pokemon Legends Arceus in the Hisui region. Of course, the reason why they left Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl to be a faithful remake was essentially because, if you think about the older games, it's much harder to capture the same feeling when you translate a 2D world into a 3D world. I mean, just think about all the HMs that you had to use, all the obstacles, which won't be too much of an obstacle anymore if you have it in a 3D world, because when you have an open world, I mean, what are you going to do? Purposely block the road so you have to push a block in? Well, I mean, as we saw in Legends Arceus, it's probably not going to be very effective, right? So I think Unova would be really nice in the 3D version because I don't think it had that many obstacles except in Victory Road, which we just passed. Victory Road was a real chore to get through. Okay, we have the Championeer Your Adventure of the Hall of Fame, Battle Alder. Alright, so we have basically the post-game. I think there's still more content further down, so all the post-game content is actually in this book. And then Volume 2 would consist of the Pokedex only, which is something that they stopped doing with Pokemon X and Y. So if you look at X and Y, you actually have 2 guides, the second of which actually contains the post-game information. Now, I think the reason why they wanted to do this, twofold. One, to prevent leaks, which didn't really work. And number 2, because they just didn't have enough time to write everything before publication, before the deadline. So that's why they split it up, which kind of does make sense, because when you have the 3DS games, they had to go with a worldwide release. Whereas for this game, until Black and White 2, they were released in Japan first, followed by, well, everywhere else in the United States, in Europe, Australia, etc., etc. So they always had that little extra leeway of like a couple months to prepare the guide anyway, since the Japanese version was already out, which, does make sense that is a main difference. So we now come to the portions of the game which were the focus of the first Black and White games, which no longer have that much significance in this one, but it is part of the post game. And we are coming to Stratton City, or Nacrene City, excuse me, and now Route 3 and Route 2. Route 2, the theme for Route 2 is my favorite in Unova. just, I don't know, it just feels so jolly and like going on a fun adventure, right? So yeah, let me know what's your favorite soundtrack tune in the Pokemon Black and White and Black 2 and White 2 games. Of course, a lot of fan favorite would be Route 10. It's great, but I like more cheerful and jolly tunes. Of course, I love the battle themes for a lot of in a lot of situations as well, but yeah. For Unova, Route 2's music is my favorite. Alright, so now we have a segment here on completing the Pokedex. Again, I believe there is a whole segment showing you all the Pokemon that are available in the game, but it does not go in depth like all the Pokedex details, right? So yeah, how to register Pokemon in the Unova Pokedex. Okay, so this is only focusing on the Unova Dex, which did introduce a lot of non-Unova Pokemon. I mean, the whole criticism about Black and White Black and White, excuse me, was that you could not use any previous generation Pokemon, at least in the main playthrough. And I get what they were trying to go with. That Pokestar series is super cool, although I never really put a lot of time into it because, yeah, just not for me. But it's a very creative and interesting way to go about it instead of doing contests. So yeah. And again, if you are interested in the other guidebooks, of course, I have the link to the playlist in the description box below. I've done pretty much, by the way, Pokemon World Tournament here. I've done pretty much most guidebooks. I think I'm missing Sun and Moon and the Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire Pokedex. So in terms of 3DS games, but I could be right. I might be missing more. But I've definitely done both Sword and Shield guides, both Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon guides. That was actually quite a long while ago. I'm kind of bummed out that I didn't keep the Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon guides because the prices for those are insane for guidebooks. Like, these are just books, not even the games. And the prices for those are insane for books. If it was for the game, it would be perfectly fine. Okay, so, you know, it really depends on what people put value into. Sometimes some things are not as valuable as others, like based on a cost basis. But of course, if people put more like value to it, like because of nostalgia or, you know, just collectability, then of course the price will always rise. And in terms of Pokemon, really, most things actually rise in value, especially if you keep them brand new and sealed, which is why I do have a sizable sealed collection now that I've been building up across the years, and you know, pretty satisfying. The only thing I didn't manage to actually dive on is the sealed consoles, or at least brand new consoles, and I'm kind of bummed about that. I didn't get the Pokeball 2DS XL, the Pikachu 2DS XL, and even the Pikachu 3DS XL, a new 3DS XL, excuse me. So yeah, too bad, but you know, the only thing you could do now is just, you know, going forward, I do collect all the Pokemon consoles, and for now I'm actually only using 1 or 2 consoles. The very first Switch I got was the Zacian and Zamazenta Switch Lite, and then of course my main Switch is the Animal Crossing New Horizons Switch, which is actually right here. Okay, so we are here at the end of the book, and overall I think this book is super comprehensive. It does have the layout and the design of the previous guide, and you know, now strategy guides don't really get too different over the years, but yeah, it's pretty nice. You know, nice to have this guide. I do have a copy of this I actually bought back in 2012. That's not as beat up or yellow, but yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to subscribe, like, and I'll see you guys again in the next Pokemon video coming real soon. Until then, bye.